Lawmakers will hold a 12th vote for Speaker of the House today. The first roll call, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy still negotiating for votes to take the office as the legislative process remains at a standstill.
Well, one Republican who is supporting McCarthy is Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, and he's joining us live now. Thank you, sir. Good morning to you. Appreciate your time. Obviously, a fascinating week, perhaps not the way you envisioned the first week of 118th Congress going. The reporting this morning seems to be that there could be a deal in the making that would end all of this. Any truth to that, and what are your hopes for today?
Yes, sir, there is, and thank y'all so much for having me on. It's a big honor to be on your show. Yeah, they've been working around the clock trying to get a consensus among the 20 or so. They need to peel off a few. I believe they've gotten a pretty good measure of that. What they're attempting to do is, and I'm a conservative as well. I vote as conservative as any of the 20 that are in that group. What they would like is some conservatives on the Rules Committee, which I don't think is objectionable. I think we ought to represent everybody. And because the Rules Committee is where a lot of bills are amended unofficially. They shouldn't be able to. It should be just done in the committee. And then they change the rules, of course, and you're not allowed to debate. So there's concern that if we don't have conservatives, we'll fall back into that same old trap of just putting bills on the floor, 4,000-page bills that nobody knows what's in them. And so I don't have a problem with that. People say it takes power away from the speaker. Well, it gives power to the people and power to the members, and I believe that's what we're empowered to do by the folks that elected us.
You said they. Who is they? Who is actually working with these Republican holdouts? There's about 20 of them. You need 16 of them to get McCarthy the gavel. What are the negotiations like? Is it McCarthy himself who is leading the charge?
Yeah, he's in part of it. There's 6, as you said. There's 20 folks. I suggested to Kevin yesterday that, and the day before, just get in a room with the 15 or 16 you think you could talk with and lay out literally. I mean, it's on a piece of paper. There's a written version of this so that there's proof that it actually happened. As in so many times you in politics as anything else, you cut a deal and it's the ink's not dried and they're wanting more. So this is a deal that I feel like they've worked out. I believe it's workable, and I think it's something the American people would like. A lot of it's inside the park, and there's been a lot of criticism of the Republican Party, but this is what our founders intended. We've had more debate and more meaningful discussion on the House floor this past week than the entire last 4 years under Speaker Pelosi. And so the reality is when something's on the floor before, there was no debate. There was the canned debate that you'd see on C-SPAN, or you always show somebody's impassioned speech, but it didn't mean anything because the votes were already decided. The only other place you see people in lockstep where the 212 voted for my friend Hakeem Jeffries is in the Soviet Union or China or maybe Cuba. They're afraid they're going to go sent to the gulag. And there's meaningful discussion, and there's no fear of retribution. And I feel like that's the way it should be, and that's the way the founders intended. We're trying to elect the person who's the number 3 in line to the White House, literally. So I don't have a problem with discussing this over the course of a week. I don't think the country's going to be set on its edge. And these bureaucracies that refuse to answer our calls because we're congressman-elect, well, I believe there's actually a court case and there's law in place, and they need to get back to work, and they need to quit with all this because they're getting ready to get that part of the swamp will be drained once the Republicans get in gear.
A few bullet points through the deal reportedly on hand here. Lowering the number from 5 to 1, the number of members required to sponsor a resolution to force a vote on ousting the speaker. That's reportedly one part of it. Placing more members of the Freedom Caucus on the Rules Committee, which is very powerful and very important in terms of legislation that gets to the floor. And also allowing floor votes to institute term limits on members and enact specific legislation. The reporting also goes on to say the proposed rule changes represent a stunning reversal from McCarthy that, if adopted, would weaken the position of Speaker and ensure a tenuous hold on the job. Do you have concerns that if McCarthy survives this, it will be as a weak Speaker of the House?
No, I don't, because the reality is before Speaker Pelosi was in office, the vacating the chair by one person was in place. It's been in place for over 100 years. You know, dadgummit, I don't know why some people aren't reading history, and all of a sudden they're claiming that it's going to weaken the Speaker's position. It will not, because they will have a great say over what comes to the floor. I think, if anything, it empowers Congress. It gives us a little more power, and I don't have a problem with that. I was elected by my folks to come up here and do something, and, you know, dadgummit, when in the past, if Speaker Pelosi, if you look at the transportation bill, you know, and I like her, she's a friend of mine, but she ruled with an iron fist. The transportation bill, a $1 trillion bill. We spent 16 hours in the markup, which is during the committee to write the bill, to do all the amendments. They took that bill after we passed it out of committee. It went to her office with the lobbyists. They rewrote the entire bill. We were given just a few hours to review a 4,000-page bill, I guess it was, and vote on it. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that's going on that nobody is saying. And that's the kind of thing that the Republicans are going to stop. And that's why people are pitching a fit. And the lobbyists are pitching a fit because it takes the power out of their hands and puts it in the hands of the people. So I think we're going to make there's some concessions that are going to be made. There are going to be concessions made on behalf of the American people. And dadgummit, I think that's a good thing.
Just real quick here, you had mentioned earlier that this process is what was intended. What would you say to someone who's not looking at all of this, looking at it from afar, just your normal average Joe at home, who thinks this is just Washington at its normal politics playing out, grinding out, and there are things that need to be done. There aren't even sworn members of the House of Representatives right now. There's a fight over the debt ceiling that needs to happen. There's national security risk. What about the people out there who are concerned about just the Capitol operating properly?
I think they need to be concerned about who the number 3 person in the state of our government is, really. I mean, that's what the Speaker is. It's a very powerful position. I don't think it should be made willy-nilly. And I think it's their concerns are valid, but they're being stoked by people that know better. We're going to get back to work. And honestly, a lot of people are kind of glad maybe Congress isn't doing anything. It just puts a hold on the nonsense that we've been doing for the last few years. So I would submit to them we're doing our job, and it's just taking a little longer than people are used to. It's not a rubber stamp anymore, and that the public is going to have a say in what's going on. And I understand their frustration, because I'm frustrated too. You know, I can see some. I hate missed opportunities, and I've seen a lot of those this week. But I feel like in the end we're going to have a Speaker of the House. And
you're confident that Speaker will be Kevin McCarthy?
I am.
All right, Representative Tim Burchett, appreciate your time. Good luck. We'll see what day 4 of this brings. Please come back when this dust settles. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir.
Please do. Thank you.